I saw you out in public reading this book, I'd want to buy you a copy so that we could talk about it. David Graeber's Bullshit Jobs makes the argument that around 50% of roles are either completely bullshit or largely made up of bullshit components. He talks about PR, lobbyists, marketing executives, and that if these jobs disappeared overnight in a puff of smoke, we'd all be better off for it, including the planet. As a book, it's funny, it's political, and it might transform the way we see work. Graeber gives us 5 different categories of bullshit jobs, and each hints at why they came into existence. The first is jobs that exist to make someone else feel or look important, say a building concierge or a personal assistant who only takes 1 phone call a day. Graeber calls these flunky jobs. And second, jobs that are manipulative, think political lobbyists or marketing executives. When Graeber asked folks to write into him with examples of their bullshit jobs, a TV production expert got in touch telling Graeber how he used special effects and programs to airbrush actors' skin and to colour correct their teeth, and then running TV commercials alongside such shows, marketing skin and teeth treatments. Graeber calls this manipulative second category of bullshit jobs goons. The third category of bullshit jobs that Graeber talks about are the duct tapers, people fixing things that really shouldn't need fixing in the first place. The person required to do this bit of unadulterated nonsense springs to my mind. The fourth category of bullshit jobs are the box tickers. Think of those doing border checks between the UK and France now due to the raging bin fire that is Brexit. While category 5 of bullshit jobs are the taskmasters, jobs to manage people who are perfectly able to manage themselves. Now, if some of these ring a bell with you, you have my sympathies, dear viewer. Feel free to vent in the comment section down below. Now, with the 5 categories of bullshit jobs established, Graeber defines a bullshit job to help us understand if we're in one. So Graeber defines a bullshit job as paid employment that is so completely pointless, unnecessary, or pernicious that even the employee can't justify its existence, even though the employee feels obliged to pretend that that is not the case. Above all, these are jobs that holders themselves feel should not exist. I'd make this even simpler by saying, if you've got a bullshit job, you feel it in your bones. Like this lady here.
What do you do for a living? Oh, I click buttons. I click this button, which gets me to the point where I click these buttons, and then these buttons get me to the point I click this button, and then sometimes I just click this button a lot.
Speaking personally now, I've had a few bullshit jobs, and thankfully now my current job is as far away from bullshit as I feel it's possible to be. One of my earlier roles was dealing blackjack and roulette as a croupier in a casino in London. And I'd say that comes under the goon category of bullshit job because it's manipulative, giving people a feeling they have a better chance of winning than they actually do. My experience of working in investment banking was also consistent with some of these categories of bullshit jobs. I helped create ever more complex financial instruments, which is essentially like making an ever more elaborate cake mixture, throwing in mortgage debt, student loans, credit card debt, sliced up and sold on in ever more exotic and imaginative forms. An entire line of work that served the 1% of the 1%. Graeber goes on to share a story he received from one of his followers who wanted to tell David Graeber about his bullshit job. Hannibal writes, I do digital consultancy for global pharmaceutical companies' marketing departments. I often work with global PR agencies writing reports with titles like How to Improve Engagement among key digital healthcare stakeholders. It's pure, unadulterated bullshit. I charged £12,000 to write a 2-page report for a pharmaceutical client to present during the global strategy meeting. The report wasn't used in the end because they didn't manage to get to that agenda point during their allotted meeting time. I mean, it's hilarious. The book is worth reading if only for a good laugh. So we come to the thorny issue of why Graeber sees bullshit jobs paying more than what he describes as real work. So hairdressers, rubbish collectors, teachers, and so on. Graeber notes that the more likely a job is to help other people, the less likely it is to be remunerated well. That's to say, pay well. He says it's as though we're being told, you get to teach children, you get to have real jobs, and on top of that, you also have the nerve to expect middle-class pensions and healthcare? I think he hits the nail on the head here. Graeber argues that those doing bullshit jobs almost need to be compensated more because of the knowledge that they're doing bullshit jobs. And this is super clear for me when we think of the treatment of healthcare workers in the UK. During the height of the pandemic, we would get out onto the streets and bash our pots and pans and clap for the workers of the NHS. And 18 months later, we're lambasting them in the media for asking for a pay rise that keeps up with inflation. It's absurd. It confirms Graeber's point that we live in a society where real jobs are not valued properly. So now we come to the crux of the issue. What's the big deal about being paid to do not much? Surely that's the ideal scenario. Now, interestingly, most people who wrote into David Graeber to tell them about their bullshit jobs described the utter confusion they were feeling, because perhaps they should feel grateful for this, but instead they reported feeling anxious, depressed, and useless. Graeber calls this spiritual violence. It's the damage a bullshit job does to the person doing a bullshit job. Now, to explain why this might be happening, Graeber points to the work of the German psychologist Karl Gruss, who found that babies were happiest when they figure out they can affect the world around them, that they could, say, move a plastic sunflower. It's an indicator that you're a person with power. A human being, therefore, unable to have a positive effect on the world feels less than human. They feel useless. One person writing into Graeber about their bullshit job described having their confidence crushed by being in a bullshit job. Quote, "If I'm not constantly being met by challenges that I'm overcoming, how do I even know that I'm capable? Maybe all my ability to do good work has atrophied. I felt this to my core when I was working in investment banking. The only way I could feel able was to do other things which I felt I had a positive, tangible effect on. I coached bike races, I took gardening courses, I took bread baking courses, so that I could see the positive effects of my actions on the world around me." Exactly like that psychologist described. The bottom line, as Graeber puts it, is that most people in the world today, certainly in wealthy countries, are now taught to see their work as their principal way of having an impact on the world, and the fact they're being paid to do it as proof that their efforts do indeed have some kind of meaningful effect. That's why it's doubly difficult to have a bullshit job, knowing it's a bullshit job. I mean, it's funny, but it's also heartbreaking. Graeber also sees bullshit jobs as a problem because we simply don't need to work as much. We could have more of a life, we could have better mental and physical health. Okay, so what should you do if you have the misfortune of finding yourself in a bullshit job? Well, the good news is that knowing what bullshit work is can help us steer away from it towards more meaningful work. Graeber defines a worthwhile job as one that fulfills a pre-existing need, or even that creates a product or service that people hadn't thought of that somehow enhances and improves their lives. Amen to that, and that's why I love my work. I get to help people make big life decisions that are right for them. And doing meaningful work now, knowing that I've had bullshit jobs in the past, I can tell you it's the best feeling. To round up, Graeber argues that we don't need to work anywhere near as much as we do. We could work less and have healthier, freer lives. He agrees with John Maynard Keynes' prediction from the 1930s that by 2030 we would only need to work 15 hours a week. Only we've invented a whole range of bullshit jobs to fill in the gaps, and that we've been captured by this kind of moral idea that work is fundamentally right regardless of what it is. At the core of Graeber's book is a message of hope that we could live different, freer lives that's better for the planet too. If that's a message you need to hear right now, I definitely recommend picking up this book. You won't regret it, if only for a good laugh. Thanks for being here. Thanks for being you. I'll catch you next time.